Welcome to the Fundraising Leadership Podcast, where we engage in lively and thoughtful conversations with professionals in the nonprofit world. I am Margaret Katz-Can, and I'm here today with my partner, Janice Cunning. Hey, Janice.
Hi, Margaret.
And I have a special treat today, which is two of the people who I went through my leadership training with. So we call ourselves a tribe, and I have two of my tribe mates today here. And they are Katrin Windsor and Kaitlyn Corse. And I'm really happy to have them in part because their passion that emerged during our leadership training was around play. And that's kind of where we're going to go today. But I'm going to ask each of them to say hi and say a sentence or two about themselves. Katrin.
Okay, so I have a long background in corporate, mostly in tech, and then became a professional coach and do leadership development. And I coach executives in nonprofits and in corporate. And one thing I discovered was how incredibly important and powerful play can be for executives who are stressed. And when I met Kaitlyn, I just found a kindred spirit. So Kaitlyn, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Kat. I am a talent development consultant and coach, and I run a business called Delightful Movement Coaching. And my background is mostly in corporate, and I worked in a lot of high pressure, high demand environments. And that, really contributed to burnout in myself and other people. And so I was really inspired after I left that world to think about and help individuals, leaders, and teams create workplaces of well-being where there's healthy high performance and play, rest. Those sorts of topics are really important for that conversation and for that outcome. And so, it was such a gift to meet Kat during leadership training and realize, wow, this is actually a really important topic that's not being talked about enough.
Yeah. Because often it's considered frivolous. And it's not. Like, there's hardcore science that really makes a key point about how important it is and how we do not play enough. I love this quote by Jeff Immels, the former CEO of GE. I love his quote, and he says, leadership is a journey of self-awareness and self-renewal. And I think, especially for stressed people, becoming aware of when am I stressed and am I at my best, to then, how do I recreate myself? How do I self-renew so I can be at my best in how I show up? I love that quote. So kind of makes the point on the top.
What do you guys do? Like, you go into places where the leaders are stressed out, burned out, exhausted, and how do you talk about play? How do you integrate play? Like, how does this work?
Well, I mean, it's interesting when we coach one-on-one, we realize how stressed people are. And often the homework is, hey, you got to find something that's fun for you. You have to build in some play. And play is different for everyone. Play isn't just like, forced, turn it on right now. There's all kinds of play. And Kaitlyn, you always talk about these different forms of play and different play personalities.
Right. I still have some Play-Doh, actually, that Kaitlyn sent me at one point, and a set of jacks, which I'm really good at. Something we don't know about, Margaret. Yeah.
Yeah, I think part of, what I would add on to that is that we think that to be great leaders and to be just great workers, performers in the workplace in general, that the absence of, the harder we're working and the less we're resting and playing, like the better workers we are, which is part of that. It's a broken model. That's not, it's not accurate. It's not science backed, but it's still very much embedded in our work cultures. And so one of the things that I do, similar to what Kat shared, is when I'm coaching one-on-one or running courses with groups and teams, people need a lot of encouragement to create space for play and to be intentional, bring an intentionality to it. And so there's a little bit of like a tricky thing with play that it's sort of at its best arises spontaneously, but as adult leaders, we usually think about play as being what kids do, but as adults, we still need to be playing, but we actually need to be more intentional and thoughtful about it in terms of making time for it and creating space to discover what really is truly fun for us and learning how to bring it into our personal lives as well as into our workplaces. So there's it's there's a lot to talk about.
And I think the key is like, what's play for you, right? Like it's what's play for you is different than what's play for me. Like for me, play is being very physical. Like I need to be out in nature. I need to be moving my body. I love moving with music and I love being with people. So I know that for me, part of how I recreate my brain, my being, how I kind of come back to base and just reconnect with who I feel I really am, joyful, fun self. I need to do more of that. I need to plan time to see my friends, to go on a hike, to go skiing. But I know that some, like Janice, what's play for you, for example?
I was just going to say, going on a hike and skiing is awful to me. It's not my idea.
See, there we go.
That would be like punishment. No, it's interesting. As you were talking, both of you, I was thinking about, I think it's Dr. Stuart Brown. Does anyone know the book Play? Okay. I remember reading that a few years ago and I was really struck by, I can't remember exactly, but it might've been Producer was the play style that resonated with me because I love, like hosting parties, like the whole thing, like thinking about them, planning them, like making the shopping list, like almost like the whole production is even more fun to me than the party itself, kind of thing. So I just, that was really interesting to me, like, cause you think about that as like maybe being social, but not playing. And the next day, like, it's so funny. I remember like, my husband and I used to have like a big holiday party, for a number of years and all our friends look forward to it. But the moment that I loved was almost like the next morning, like the place is chaos and I'm doing the dishes and, and I realized it's because it's like a play. It's like I put on this event and now I'm sort of reflecting and like the more chaotic and dirty everything is, the more fun like everybody has. So that was really interesting to me, and I can see how, that could be like, I've enjoyed like volunteering, being on boards, like being involved in conferences, which is similar, right? But it's like a little bit more light and playful in my real life. But that shocked me that was actually considered play because I'm not a sport, like I don't like sports. And that I think often when you hear you're supposed to be playing, like I'm like, I like to stay home and read or have my friends over for parties. Like that's what I enjoy,
Yeah, it can be so. I love that personal story and like the contrast between what Katrin shared and what Janice just shared. The book, I actually was about to recommend to those listening Dr. Stuart Brown's book, which is called Play, How It Shapes the Brain. And he outlines 8 play personalities in there. So if you're curious to go deeper on this topic, knowing your play personality, I found is the best way to help individuals and leaders understand how they can have the greatest impact through play because you're looking for the kind of play that resonates most. So there's Janice, I think the one you're referencing is the director. And it's very much about creating social connection, which is a huge aspect of play. There's the kinesthete, which is Katrin, what Katrin mentioned. There's the joker, that loves to be in laughter and, goofiness, silliness. There's the explorer, the storyteller, the creator, so there are some of the different play personalities. And so if you can think about, and usually where I start with people is, well, what did you love as a kid? And that's where Dr. Stuart Brown points people to is like, well, if you're not sure what's fun, if you really lost connection with fun, which a lot of people have right now, if you're like, I've got nothing, like go back to when you were 5 or 10 years old and just think about like, what were you doing? Were you sketching? Were you writing stories? Were you like playing on the jungle gym? Like, what was it that delighted you
Yeah, and
when
you
you
know
were
what I was
younger?
doing? I was
That's
playing
probably a good
school,
place.
and my cousin and I still love playing school, and we had a younger cousin, and we get all our
There it
teddy bears
is.
and my younger cousin, and we would be the teacher. So see, I like directing even back then.
Right. So the thing is, even as we just talk about that, like the idea is plan to do that right away. Like, don't just talk about it, but like you reconnect to that idea and it's like, put it on your agenda, plan a party, Janice.
Well, I just planned because I have also my big passion right now is my rescue dog. And so I just actually this morning was planning 2 of her, what I like to call pup dates, where we're going to have friends come over because we just got a new house and we have a backyard. So we can have other dogs and their owners who are my friends come over. So I just planned 2 pup dates for the next month.
That is so delightful. That sounds
Great.
so stressful to me. Like that is not my play personality at all. But listening to you, I'm like, thank goodness for the director play personalities in the world for creating pup dates.
And what is yours, Kaitlyn?
I am like cat mover, kinesthete, and explorer. Yeah. Some people have, a combination of 2 or 3.
Yeah. What do you think you are, Margaret?
I thought there's a lot of it, but not planning things. That doesn't sound like play to me. So there's one I can probably cross off. I love being outside and I feel a lot of playful, and especially if it involves snow. So skiing, snowshoeing, having big blobs of snow fall on me out of trees, which also speaks to number 2, which is goofy, social, giggly, those kinds of things. So, but
and you're an explorer.
Yeah, I know. I also love to travel. I love music. I like moving. I don't know. I feel like I have like check, like lots of it's good, right?
I'll take all the play.
Yeah.
You're like, give me all the play.
I will take all the play. Yeah.
And I think one of the things that also why that's so important is to connect with how we play, is to realize how multisensory it is in our own ways. Even if, let's say, your hobby is like my husband said he liked to play like model airplanes, and so even model airplanes is actually multisensory. There is touch. There is the smell of the glue. There is there's the colors, the coloring, it's like, and it is something about being completely present. And so that each of those, like being in a snow patch, as Margaret says, right? Or Janice, like planning and getting parties together or being with the rescue dogs, is actually waking up all our senses. It creates a tremendous amount of aliveness, and that triggers a tremendous amount of really healing hormones in our biochemistry in our bodies. And so it's more than just play.
Yeah,
and I'm curious. Yeah, I'd love to hear from both of you. Like, what are a story or 2 of people or teams you've worked with where they've embraced play thanks to your coaching, and what was the impact?
Kaitlyn and I had a great shared experience. We did a 90-minute play session with a management consulting team, and it was in person. And at the start of the session, 2 executives came and says, "Oh, we're so sorry. This sounds good, but we are so busy. We have a massive deadline tonight. We cannot, we're going to need to leave after 15 minutes. So Kaitlyn and I kicked this off, and we get people just out of their heads and very present. That's also about play. You're actually very present with whatever you do. So we got people out of their heads, very present, and we made them do like a series of really fun exercises. And while those 2 executives stayed, they did not leave after 15 minutes. They stayed the whole time. And they then reported back the following day that when after that 90-minute of play with their team, they then went back to their hardcore business deadline. They had a huge project, an RFP they had to submit, that it took them half the time that they expected that it would take them, because they were so lit up, there was no stress, and they just were able to approach it in a very creative way. Now that is huge. That really shifting teams into connection and positivity really leads them to higher productivity. And that case was a beautiful, showcase for us.
Yeah. I love that story. I have a similar example on my own leading. This was an intact team of 10 folks at a company, and I took them through a 7-week fun for life play course. And that was about a year and a half ago. And they, in this course, everybody learns their play personality, and it's really fun for a team to have revealed to them the different, my teammates, this is how they like to have fun. And it also allowed, what I really saw happen is, it can be a little awkward at first, but part of the impact was it was very humanizing for them, right? It creates psychological safety to begin to play together, especially in a work context. And what's cool is that, I still hear from them and they're like, hey, we still play together. We still have a weekly, they've self-organized. I didn't tell them to do this, but they were so impacted by the positivity it created for them as a team that they continued to just create, a self-generated, what do you call it? There's a lot of team building events that are they can sometimes feel forced. And here you have a team who's saying, no, we're going to get together once a week and hold an hour of play together, and we're going to rotate. And they take turns, deciding and honoring all the different play personalities. And so the impact for them has just been, they've been through a lot as a team, as so many teams have the past couple of years. And it's just created so much resilience and positivity and connection for them as a team, which is super cool.
Yeah, I think the play break, so there's different ways that teams can decide to play together. And so, for example, you can also choose to just do a 10-minute play break. And I think what we care so deeply about is for executives and for teams not to discard play as lame or as frivolous. That it really, if you do a 10-minute play break as a team, it's like, even at the beginning of a meeting, for example, I guarantee that meeting is going to be more effective. So also,
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just curious. I was just thinking of what I know about work meetings. Come on, you're right. How do you start that? How do you give people permission to be goofy and playful in front of each other?
Well, it's interesting. There's the in-person, it's different. What's very effective, maybe not right now is not the time to talk about this, but Nerf guns, it was I had engineering colleagues that would take Nerf guns and just because it would be so tense, deadlines were so hard, the whole software development team was super stressed out and just hammering away, staring at their screen all day long. And then once in a while, our head of development would just say Nerf war, and everybody got their Nerf guns. I even had one under their desk. And oh my gosh, it was complete mayhem for 10 minutes. Everybody was so loosened up and had so much fun. And we were giggling, and then everybody went back to work. And it was just whew, so needed. So every team is different. Virtually, you can do these very fast. We do a series of those very fast you can do word games. You can throw an object, it's like, hey, Margaret, let me throw you this huge hunk of Swiss cheese, catch it. And now,
from Switzerland. Yeah.
I'm on the Swiss Alp right now, actually. So.
That's right.
Yes. and have fun. There's a bunch of different games that can be done that don't take much time at all.
Totally. Yeah. I love to do 1 minute to win it, which you can Google that. I don't know if you're familiar with 1 minute to win it games.
No.
They're just super goofy. a lot of them are physical. It's like you have 1 minute you have to balance a book on your head, and, whoever wins is the last, while you're standing on one leg, and whoever's the last one standing wins. Or you've got to take a sheet of paper and tear it. Everybody has like 30 seconds to tear it into the longest, strip possible. So it could just be like super like basic and simple, but that's a fun one, is just to Google 1 minute to win it. The other thing is it could be completely like non-work, like a true break, but there are also ways that leaders could bring it into the workspace. Like you might ask a question. You could start a meeting by even asking something like, when was the last time you just felt truly like connected and alive at work? Like when was a moment of maybe true fun in your work? And have people share stories. And that can be really powerful, helping to point to people to where they actually are most fulfilled in their work. Because ideally, there are many people who've written about this. Ideally, we should be having more fun at work, and we should be blurring the lines. Ideally, we'd be having more fun and less work ultimately.
I love this quote by David Ogilvy, the advertising legend, who said, teams that aren't having any fun rarely produce good results. And Kaitlyn and I were geeking out a little while ago, and we're saying, wow, we would love to work with a team that, to work with one team in a company and help this team have play breaks, and then compare that team's results and energy and positivity and productivity to either before, if there's a comparable way of doing that, or to another team who's doing similar work. And we are convinced, and we'd love to, to collect more data on that the team we work with is going to be way better than the other team. And the impact it has on the individuals when they go home at the end of the day, or when they, close shop at the end of the day and step into, the family life again.
Yeah, I know we were sort of talking before we started recording about there's a lot of serious in the nonprofit world right now. I mean, I know the nonprofit world doesn't own this, but we just had a blog a couple weeks ago about one of our leaders sort of just feeling like conditions are relentless, that there just isn't a break, and that the resources are low, stress is high. How do you reconcile? I mean, I know you believe in this, and I also do, but how do you even begin to make a switch to putting something like that into your culture? Or how would you talk about that?
Yeah. How do you make a switch? How do you start approaching that? Well, you could dedicate a director of fun. Often though, if that comes out of HR, that's considered kind of like, oh gosh, an HR thing. We've seen that not work, and we've seen it work. We, definitely encourage teams to make it a priority. See how it feels for 1 month. Make play and fun a priority. Give it a try, right? We have a whole bunch of recommendations of what they could do to start meetings. You could count to 10, that game, or like you can do the yes and game, or there's just, you could do a dance party. Like, here's a list of 10 things that you could do with your team, and just make that commitment, and your only truth will be your own experience. How does it feel?
Yeah, it reminds me, Margaret, we often start workshops with clients with improv. And there's usually like a mixed reaction. Some people are very excited, and some people are like, is it possible to get out of this room now? And I've had so many people afterwards come up and say, like, I didn't want to do that. It was so uncomfortable, but I'm so glad we did it. Or, I see why we did it, So I think sometimes it is just, whether it's, if you're listening to this and you're the leader of the team, I think a lot of it just is like, if you read the book play, read the blog that the two of you have written, listen to this, like just commit to yourself. Like, I'm going to try it. I like what you're saying, Kat, like just even for a month, it's an experiment. and you really like stand in that and go in, people will follow. I mean, people enjoy having fun and laughing. They do. It's human nature. But I think it's a risk, right? That you got to take.
I love that, Janice. I think play is a risk. And I think that's really like coming back to Margaret, what you said about like, oh gosh, well, like things are so serious right now. How do you help people break out of that? I think it's acknowledged. I think people have to be tired of being serious and kind of be craving something else. Like, gosh, I'm just so tired of serious, because really, truly play is the absence of seriousness. There's a great book called The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. You probably know it, by Jim Dethmer and Diana Chapman. And one of the conscious commitments in there is to rest and play for leaders. And the hallmark of this chapter is about seriousness and how as leaders, we have to take ourselves less seriously. And especially in a leadership role, it's setting that tone for everyone else around you. And taking the risk, Janice, yes, like taking the risk to play both at work and outside of work. And I think both are really important. So I think one way to help people is not just by cultivating it within work, but also encouraging people, like asking people, what'd you do for fun last night? Or like, hey, get out of here, go home. Like, right. I think what's great about play is it helps give people a space to go to outside of work. And I think especially with the pandemic, the lines were blurred. People didn't, it's work from home. And I think what play offers is a space to recover to outside of work and outside of seriousness. And it makes us so much better. It makes us more creative, and then we come back. There's like this rest, play, work cycle. And I can't remember what book that's from. But basically, in order to work, we have to rest first. We have to sleep. We have to, do nothing for a bit. And then we need to play. We need to enter this space of like no productivity at all, just pure fun. And then we can kind of come into a place of being focused and productive and driving outcomes. And they're all really important to human beings. We need that whole full cycle. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Like I'm just, as you're talking, I'm reflecting, Margaret brought in earlier, like we've had sort of recent guests talk about like the relentlessness, like COVID, but also now the impact of inflation. And, we've had someone come on and talk about the sabbatical that they're stepping into. And last week we sort of talked about looking in unconventional places, for new information. And it doesn't it? It feels like it's all in the space, right? Like there's something, I do think there is, like in the same way that maybe a few years ago, people were more open to the idea of like slowing down in meditation. I think there is something in the space, like around, like we need to look at things in a new way. And the only way to come up with new ideas and look at things in a new way is to like try new things. And that's play.
That's right. A few years ago, we might have been doing blogs on like how to be more productive right? This is not that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I'm thinking of here too, and maybe you guys see this too, like, maybe the leader doesn't feel 100% competent in his or her play ability, but just a reminder, like you got a whole team, right? Like somewhere there's a goofy person in your office. So do you guys point people to that at all? If you are working with people who are having trouble giving themselves permission to, maybe ask for help?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a team has a bunch of different personalities, right? And an effective, successful team has different personalities. But there's like the really precious one often is the one that's kind of the one that's jokester, like the one that kind of likes bringing that lightness into the group. And so hopefully most people have someone like that. And if you as the leader encourage them, hey, could you, kind of bring more of that, could you for a month, make us play more or bring some more of that, with intention to the group, that person will just like totally pick up on that and feel that permission to do that. And of course, it's not for everybody. Like what I mean is like not everybody has that kind of jokester, optimistic, humor type, but they are in most teams. There's someone like that.
Right. Or there may
totally.
be.
And I think they particularly need to be encouraged in the workplace, because I've coached a few joker play personalities, and part of their homework was like, bring it to work. And they're like, oh, I can't. Oh, I can't joke. No, like I coached a gal who was in financial services, and she was like, oh, I can't bring my, I mean, like, she was so funny. And she's like, I can't bring that side of me to work. And I challenged her to, like, to start to do that and just like take a risk, see what happens. And it was such a gift to her colleagues, right? In the midst of a pandemic. And she saw that. And it was really cool because it was like she got to be more herself. And I think that's one of the other gifts of play, is if you're in your true play personality, you feel more yourself. And so you're not only bringing more positivity, as a leader, by encouraging your people to bring these aspects, you're not only making the environment more positive, but you're encouraging more authentic.
Yeah. Because what happens is play creates authenticity, it creates trust, and it fosters deeper connections. Because when people show up with their facade, and we all have like these facades of how we think we should show up in a team meeting, we've invested in those facades, but you cannot connect authentically facade to facade. It doesn't work. Let go of the facade, and play helps that. People start joking, they're starting having fun with each other. It builds a tremendous amount of connection, cohesion, and trust. And trust is speed. That creates a lot of speed.
Yeah, love that. So you guys have given us so many amazing things to try, but we do close our podcasts generally with, sum it up. What's a challenge, an inquiry, a thing to try?
Well, immediately think of what's play for you and put it onto your agenda and commit to it. Like, commit to yourself to have more fun and play in your day to day.
Great. Kaitlyn, do you have one you want to add?
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier, but I would say, a lot of people feel really stuck on, but I'm like, okay, I'm not sure. So if you're not sure, I love Kat's suggestion. If you have a sense of like, oh, I know it's fun for me and I just need to prioritize it more, great, go do that. If you're really stuck or not sure, what I recommend is doing the exercise of thinking back to your childhood. Like, go mine your childhood for play gold. and if you can't think of memories, maybe talk to people who knew you as a kid. If you have a parent or a sibling or a grandparent that you can ask, it sounds like a stretch, but it's a really great way to just start to reconnect with what's fun, or just try anything. Janice was saying that before. Like, if you really don't know, I challenge you to make a list of 20 things for fun. Ask people in your life, what do you do for fun? And then just go try them. And then just keep a little journal on a scale of 1 to 5. How fun was, try these 20 things. How fun was that? Was it like a 2 out of 5? Was it a 5 out of 5?
I must say, I would have never thought, like improv, when we did it in our leadership program, I loved it. And I went and took many, many improv classes. If you had asked me like 2 years prior to that, would you find improv fun? I would have been like, no, but I did.
Yeah. That's part of how you discover what's fun, is trying new things. So I think those would be our two recommendations. Go do more of what you already know is fun, and make a list of 20 new things to try, and find out what's most, find a new fun thing from that list.
Well, and Kaitlyn, don't you still have that? Don't you do that delightful movement play course?
Yeah, I teach a course called Fun for Life.
I loved it.
And that's one of the things I challenge people to do, is to make a list and go try new things for 3 weeks.
Great. And in the show notes, we will connect to both of your websites. And so people can find you or follow up or continue the conversation if they want to. Thank you to both of you for, it's a fun topic, right?
Thank you.
It's a little lightness. So thank you both for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
This podcast is brought to you by Fundraising Leadership. We provide unique coaching and training programs that powerfully transform how you work in order to get results. Please subscribe if you haven't already. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. If you are enjoying the show, you can help us continue to bring thoughtful content with a monthly or annual contribution. This supports our production costs and helps keep the show ad-free. Please make a contribution today using the link in the show notes. Now, go put it into practice.